Hi guys, it's Mrs. Kushner, and today we are going to take a look at part 3, the final part of asking effective questions. In this video, you will learn the final 2 levels of thinking. So let's put this in context of where we've been and where we're headed. We have already looked at, in part 1, what it means to ask a remember question and what it means to ask an understand question. We built on that last time in part 2 by talking about what it means to ask an apply question and what it means to ask a question about analyzing information. Today, we've reached the top of that pyramid, the types of questions that build on every other type of question, evaluating questions, and ultimately creating questions. As a reminder, why does this matter? Why do we need to know about different types of questions? Well, that's because when people are able to answer and create different types of questions at each level of Bloom's taxonomy, we know that people are then more interested in what they are learning, they understand what they're learning better, and they remember what they're learning better. Triple win. All right, let's dive into evaluating. So evaluating, symbolized by the judge's scales, is because when you evaluate something or when you ask an evaluate question, you're asking somebody to judge between what is good or bad, what is right or wrong, what's fair or unfair, or maybe just judge the order of something, to judge the ranking of them. So what this may look like is in social studies, you may be given a list of events that led up to a battle, a conflict, and you might be asked to rank those events in order of what was most important or most impactful in leading to the outcome, the battle. In the language arts sphere, that might mean that you have to evaluate or decide which character you would most like to meet and why you would most like to meet them. So really, we want to stretch the thinking with these questions past just who's best. We want to make people evaluate and judge, why is that best? Why is your answer the right answer for you? It could also mean, was a character good or bad? Or was a decision a right or wrong decision? Or it could be as simple as, would you recommend this book? Why would you recommend this book? Why not? When you do that, you are actually doing some pretty critical thinking about that book in deciding what its merits, what its flaws were, and ultimately joining all those merits and flaws into a final decision. Creating. Creating is pretty much exactly what it sounds for. Creating questions ask a person to make something or to create something. Now, sometimes a creating question physically asks you to make something, like design a literary theme park. But it could also mean what if, a what if question, which is a hypothetical creating. So if someone says, what would have happened if, and they give you a different outcome, they're asking you to create in your mind an alternate reality. And so that still counts as creating, even though the creating is happening in your mind and not on paper. All right, so that wraps up our final 2 levels of thinking. When you put it in context, this is how it breaks out. Remembering and understanding, like we mentioned, are right there questions. It's where you go into the book, the answer is right there on the page, and there's most likely going to be a right or a wrong answer. For creating, evaluating, analyzing, and applying, these are thinking questions because you are going to go into the text, but you're going to then have to use whatever it is, or into your notes, you're going to have to use that information and do bigger thinking that takes that thinking even further. So on some of these, there's going to be a crystal clear right answer. When a teacher asks you to apply your math knowledge to solve the equation, yeah, there's going to be a right answer for that. But on others, for example, maybe evaluating, there's going to be not necessarily a right or a wrong answer. If the teacher asks you to evaluate which question, listen to me, which character you would go most like to meet, go to dinner with, and why, the right answer, there's no one character that's the right answer. Instead, rightness comes into, were you able to explain your evaluation? And were you able to explain your logic? Which is why we call these thinking questions, because your answers are often evaluated off of how well you did the thinking, not necessarily did you come up with the same answer as your classmate. All right, in this lesson, you have learned the final 2 levels of thinking. Congrats on now knowing all of them. To finally wrap it up, take action now. Write a question about today's lesson on your notes, even if it might be a question on one of the other 4 types of thinking that we talked about on a different day. Doesn't matter. Any of those types of thinking, if you have a question on it, write it down now on your notes. If you don't have any questions, because this all makes perfectly crystal clear sense to you, then find the part that you think your classmates probably most stuck on and write a question that you think they would have. All right, great work today, and I will see you next time.